Hello, everyone. I'm Gwen Preston of Resource Maven. I'm here at the Metals Investor Forum in September, and I am joined by Dave Cole of EMX. Nice to see you.
Gwen, always a pleasure.
So EMX always has a lot going on. You have a massive portfolio, all kinds of projects, project generation, royalty generation. So I want to talk about a few things that have happened of late to just get your insight on some of these events. So the biggest headline thing is certainly your deal with Zijin coming to a resolution on the royalty at the Timok project. Talk about that a little bit, and then talk about where you think that project is going.
Happy to. And I'm happy to have it finally done. I'm sorry it took so long, but good things come with patience. I will say right up front that working with Xinjiang has been a pleasure. It did take a long time. It was a little slow, but they were honorable to work with. They never went back on their word in any aspect. We worked our way through and rewrote the whole royalty agreement in a manner it won't be argued again.
Amazing.
I'm just delighted about that. All the back royalties have been paid. We're looking forward to receiving quarterly royalties going forward now for a very long mine life, which comes to the other part of your question. That's what's happening there. So they're mining in the upper high-grade zone. They've told the market that the upper high-grade zone will likely last 10 more years.
Great.
Okay, so that's great. And our current royalty pay rate, it's been increasing each year, but our current royalty pay rate, there's just under $4 million US a year.
Right.
So that's nice. They have also told the market that they expect the lower zone to come into production within 5 to 7 years. And they have announced that they plan a 3.5 to 3.8 additional billion US dollar investment.
So when we talk about the lower zone, like the upper zone is a good mine. It's good grade. It's got a good mine life, altogether something like 13 years or whatever, but something like that's going to be. The lower zone is immense.
Immense.
Absolutely immense.
Immense. The last 43101 compliant resource, which was put out, was by Nevsun. Xinjiang does not put out 43101 compliant resources. They do have a reserve on their website that everyone's welcome to go see. Strictly speaking, I'm not supposed to mention that, but I can mention that the last compliant resource put up,
which was back in 2018.
It was roughly in the 2 billion tons of 1% copper equivalent range. This is a generational copper gold asset, the largest discovery of copper and gold and largest copper and gold mine to be ever put into production in the continent of Europe.
Which is why $4 million a year for the next 10 years is great, but $3.5 billion of investment to build a massive underground block cave mine tapping 1% porphyry, over which you have the same royalty, 100%. Is even more important.
Yes, and we have royalties throughout the district on other plays. I will also point out that lower zone, when it was geologically formed, was straight up and down, but it's subsequently been tilted thanks to some dynamic plate tectonic shifts, and so that actually plunges towards another royalty that we have.
I didn't know that.
Right. So there's a boundary where we have the 0.3625% NSR. And then the other side on the Brestovac West license, we have a 2% royalty on gold and silver and 1% on all other metals.
Amazing.
And Xinjiang has specifically announced that they plan to drill that plunging body to 2 kilometers of depth. Generational asset with the dispute now totally resolved and a great working relationship. So that huge accomplishment.
Thank you. I'm sure a weight off your shoulders just having it done.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the other things that have been going on. How about some of the drill holes that have been happening on some of the more advanced assets that you have, the ones that come to mind on which you have royalties? The ones that come to mind are Park Salyer and Peak.
Yeah, those are both in Arizona. And the Park Salyer discovery is in and amongst an area that's getting a lot of action now between Ivanhoe Electric and Arizona Sonora, and I think another companies in there as well, defining deposits. I wish that our royalties were a little bit broader in that district, but at least we got a chunk of it.
At least you got some, yeah.
And that did trigger a stage gate payment. Many of the deals we write, we have stage gate payments tied to them, so we can get some nickels and dimes before we get the dollars. And that was a $3 million payoff to us. So that's super.
I did not realize that. That's
$3 million USD. And
you've used that nickels and dimes to dollars line before. That's a good one. I like it.
And the amount of pre-production royalty and lease payments that we get across the company exceeds $3 million a year now. So it adds up. It adds up.
Okay, let's talk about one of the big royalties that you purchased in the last little while is Caserones. Talk about what's been going on down there. The Lundin Group came in and took over that asset. What does that mean for you? What is that done to your view on that asset?
So when we bought that royalty, we've purchased it now in 3 tranches.
Yes.
One tranche was syndicated with Elemental Altus. Another tranche was syndicated with Franco, Nevada. And then there's a third small piece that came to us as well. We're delighted to have increased our royalty on that. We had the viewpoint that there was a lot of exploration upside, which is why you want to buy royalties. We also had the viewpoint that it's going to be a generational copper asset and we want to be exposed to copper prices. And we felt that there was a reasonable probability that somebody might increase production. So then here comes Lundin swooping in, buys 51%. They have an option to buy additional 30%, I believe, from JX Nippon. JX Nippon was doing a great job. They were a good operator. Lundin, even better. And Lundin has told the market that they plan to increase production 20-25%. They have some water desalination synergies that will help the project because one of the limiting factors is fresh water. Another thing that they have said is anyone who follows Lundin Mining knows this is their forte. They'll do aggressive exploration. And our royalty footprint there is sizable. So we're well beyond the mine. I'm very pleased. Franco's very pleased with that purchase that they did with us. And it adds another generational copper, in this case copper molybdenum, asset to our books. So it's great. Now we have 2 generational copper assets supporting the value of EMX.
Okay, last question. You just mentioned Franco, who you partnered with, syndicated with, to buy part of that Caserones royalty. But your partnership with Franco is now getting multifaceted and deep. So you work together to buy that royalty, you end up with your pieces. But now Franco owns part of EMX. Franco's never owned part of a junior company before, royalty company before. And you also recently announced a joint venture where you're going to go out and try and find new royalties. So talk about why you think that that's an opportunity. This is, and it's cool to me. We were just talking about top end stuff like cash flowing royalties and how that's working for EMX. This agreement is more building of the bottom.
That's absolutely 100% correct. And this building of the bottom is why Franco likes EMX. They like our royalty generation business. They like that long-term optionality. I was having a conversation with Paul Brink, the CEO of Franco, on the phone. He says, Dave, you should go out and capture some prospective mineral rights from these broke explorcos.
And there's so many broke explorcos.
Yeah. And I said, well, I think the best way to do that actually is to do micro financing royalty deals, royalty microfinancings, coming into somebody that has prospective mineral rights, smart team, no money. Hey, we'll give you some money to drill. We'd like a royalty. We have yet to get one of these across the line since we've done the joint venture, but there's several that we're analyzing right now. And, you know, the Franco team is so intelligent. They're wonderful folks. We love working with them. Anything that we can do to further our relationship is to everyone's, certainly to our benefit.
Do you think that that's there's a lot of broke explorcos out there, so I think they're probably open to financing opportunities in ways that they wouldn't be necessarily in a stronger market. What's the reception been? I'm just curious. This is an honest question to the idea of selling a royalty on a fairly early stage asset, which is this sort of micro royalty concept that you just described.
Yeah, we've had a few sincere people knock on the door since the press release came out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not overwhelming, but yeah, there's definitely people that are willing to do it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, because you didn't have enough angles to your business, let's just add another one in there so that when you have a 10-minute presentation at a conference, it's even harder to get through everything that EMX does. I barely got there today. Fantastic. Well, congrats on everything. And I look forward to seeing where EMX ends up in the next little while.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, Gwen. Thank you.